thank you all for being here today. I'm really excited to be here with both Greg and Scott. I will let them introduce themselves in a minute. My name is Tom Barnes. I am from Category Partners. We do data analytics and consumer research and specialize in produce amongst the other perishables departments at grocery. So I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Greg, and then Scott, if you'll introduce yourselves.
Yeah, my name is Greg Veneziano. I work at Bizzuto's Incorporated, which is out of Cheshire, Connecticut. Our territory goes from mostly Maine to Maryland, west of Buffalo. We service around 1,500 independent grocery stores. We sell them everything besides produce, anything you buy in a supermarket. My background is I've been at Bizzuto's over 30 years. And I grew up through the supermarket industry, basically in produce from when I was a young age. That's it. Awesome. Scotty?
Yeah, my name is Scott Dre. I work for Walmart. I'm also kind of been in the industry for a while, maybe 13 years at Walmart. Before that, I worked at Super Value and Albertsons. Married with 4 kids, 2 grandkids. Interesting tidbit, my youngest daughter of the 4 is just graduated, so we're entering the empty nester phase pretty quickly here. So. Don't know if that's good or bad. My wife says it's really good. She'll probably visit with me on some of these trips. I know there's some wives here in the audience, so I'm just thrilled to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. And a little bit about Walmart, most of you know, but we've got 4,500 stores, do a lot of volume, but we care individually about all the customers that are in our stores every day.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Again, thank you for being here. So today we're basically going to be talking about retail assortment of organics, getting your opinion and facts, hopefully, of what you feel, where organics are at. We'll be smattering some numbers because, I like data. So we have to look at some numbers on organic performance as we go. And let's hopefully it's a good conversation. So to begin with, I just want to know from the perspective of your organizations, how do you feel organics are going right now as a whole, right, for the entire produce department?
For us, we're doing really well with organics. I mean, we have, a lot of our customers are more on the higher end store types that we do pretty well with. Some of our stores can be anywhere from a small single owner, maybe 8,000 square feet, to stores that are 80,000 square feet or more. So we have a wide variety. We have to carry, every day, at least 300 organic items. So we have a lot to choose from because all our independent customers want to be different. They don't want the same thing, which is a little bit different than I would think what Walmart would be. So for us, we have to have a lot more. So we have more variety and more to choose from and more stuff to get if there is problems in the supply chain.
Okay. Scott, what do you?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, organic is still an important part of our business. It's maybe down a little bit with the recent trends. I think you told me that. I didn't even necessarily know that. But organic still matters. Has been a traditional growth part of the industry. There's a lot of positives in organic in general. I think there's a consumer that's trading off to maybe better value at this point. But organic is still it still matters. It's a great business to be in.
Still focus.
Absolutely.
Walmart, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So we're going to go through a couple of numbers, and then I'll get your opinion on the numbers. And I apologize for the neck craning. Normally there would be a monitor right here that we could see the numbers without having to look clear over there. But we don't have that today. So we'll do our best with what we have.
And for the record, sometimes Tom makes up stuff, so.
Okay, yes. All right, he's not wrong. But so just a little bit of housekeeping for the numbers that we'll be looking at. First of all, a big shout out to Nielsen IQ for providing the numbers. Category Partners is a connected partner with them, and so they allow us to provide these numbers in these types of situations, and so we thank them for that. When we talk about the produce department, and especially organic versus conventional, we're talking about all fresh fruits and vegetables sold at retail as defined by Nielsen. And then the time frame that we're talking about, I try and get the most recent data that I possibly can. So we're going to be looking at a 52-week snapshot ending June 10th of 2023. Okay, so kind of remember that as we talk. When I'm saying year over year, that's what we're talking about, is that June to June time frame, which does make a difference, especially with seasonality and everything else and fruits and vegetables, as you all very well know. And then definitions, when I say volume, we're actually talking about equivalated pounds, not units, as defined by Nielsen. And then, again, year over YOY, if you see that abbreviation, that stands for year over year, okay? So total U.S., again, by Nielsen. We have our dollars. Oh, my gosh. I don't even know if I can see that far. Negative 2%. Or no, wait. Positive 2%. Oh, I was going to say dollars is definitely up. Positive 2% year over year, with $9.4 billion in organic sales. Volume is down, and 2.8 billion pounds there. And then the last one would be ACV, which I can't even see because that speaker is right there. But I do know that it's about 97%. Am I making that up, or is that right? Oh, man, I'm worse.
I told you.
But the most important thing about ACV is that it is off from years. So ACV is distribution. It stands for all commodity volume, but it basically looks at how many SKUs per store is landing across the total U.S. And because of that, when we see that ACV going down, it means that distribution is actually less. And I thought that was very interesting. So when we have dollars up, we have volume down. It means price is up, which we all know that's not a shocker to anybody. And so we see that because of that, because volume has gone down, especially in organic, and I want to have this conversation on why you think that is. But ACV is down too, meaning that we're not carrying as many organics in the stores. So, Scott, I'll go with you first. Is Walmart pulling back on the number of organic SKUs?
So no, we haven't changed our assortment. I mean, maybe a little bit here and there, but nothing out of the normal. We're not making a conscious decision to carry less organic or less really any SKU. We're totally focused on what the customer wants and needs. And to me, that number says that there's a price equation that isn't working out. Our customers are maybe a little bit more impacted than maybe those of us in this room, and I think we need to focus on how do we get them better access to the quality organic produce that's available from the growers in this room and around the world.
Okay, all right. Greg, where do you see organics?
Well, for us, we're still growing with them. I mean, my first job at Bizzuto's was an organic buyer, and that was in the mid-'90s, so it was back then it was a little bit different than it is now. I mean, we've been growing ever since then, and I think we need to be a little bit more consistent on some of the stuff. On commodities, you can get contract pricing on conventional lines, but you can't really get that, at least we can't, on something like, any organic items. There has to be consistency in the supply chain. But for us, we keep promoting. We promote them every week. We put them in our ads, and some stores more than others. Some stores will change, and certain items will carry only that item only in organic, which helps them. Maybe like an item that might not sell that great in their stores, like Movement, they can't afford to have both conventional and organic at the same time. They might go with, maybe Swiss chard or rainbow Swiss chard or something that's different, anise or something that they might get they could be able to satisfy both those customers.
Okay. So have you seen, but you haven't seen SKUs go down really?
No.
Have you seen it go up?
Well, there's a lot.
Or is it just kind of stable right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's some new items coming in, and our things are, we have to have them all for all our customer base, so ours are growing still.
Okay, you talked about seasonality, right? And we all know, especially with organic, it seems like there are times that it's a little harder to find the organic equivalent to the conventional items in the store. Are you seeing that happen more often? That you're able to go longer with organics, and how do you work that when you don't have organic option?
Well, that's a problem. It definitely is. When you don't have organics and customers are expecting it, that's a big issue. For us, we have kind of like items that they might get, but it's not good for an ad. So we can't take a chance if something's not going to be there, put in our ad, and disappoint that customer.
Yeah. Scott, what about you?
I mean, I think Greg brings up a key point. Consistency matters. The consumer gets used to something and they want to have it there year-round. I think one of biggest things that we can do in the organic industry is create a year-round supply chain, have availability year-round. And I know that's not easy to do. That's a big challenge. But I think if we're taking care of our customers, that's what they want. That's what they expect. They don't care that it's hard.
Yeah.
They just want to be able to feed their family with the healthy organic items that they're looking for every day.
Right. Yeah. So obviously organic, you know, and when we talked first time kind of working on what we were going to say today, and obviously you can already tell that this is not scripted in any way, but hopefully more of a conversation. But you said, you know, fad versus trend, and obviously, you know, organic is not a fad. Where do you see the trend going with organic?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I don't think it's going away. I think I mentioned it. I started in food maybe in 2003 at retail, and back then we were trying to figure out what the standards were. Are they the right standards? The USDA was still kind of playing around a little bit. I don't know if playing around is the right word, but we didn't have defined strategies back then. How is it going to play? Is it a fad? Is it a trend? And I think it's, you know, we're 20 years later now, and it's here to stay. It's an important component, and there's lots of factors why it's still around. There's sustainability benefits. There's, you know, environmental benefits. There's health benefits. So it's here to stay. I think we're maybe taking a little bit of a pause to figure out what's next, but it's not going anywhere.
Okay. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, I agree with Scott. I mean, Bizzuto's actually purchased a farm, and I don't know how the growers that are here, how you guys can do it. It's amazing, I mean, to be able to grow stuff organic all the time. I mean, the challenges on just a regular farm, never mind the organic part, has to be so difficult. But yeah, if you can keep at it, and I think it's just going to continue to grow.
Yeah. I mean, I've been watching these numbers for many, many years, and so over there is the 5-year dollar trend, which is the furthest back I can go, sadly. But as you can see, so the light green would be conventional, the darker blue, or light blue and dark blue. Anyway, the dark blue would be organic, and as you can see, over the last 5 years, organic has become 12% of dollars year over year, but there's now finally this decline in, or not decline, but conventional is actually outperforming organic, even in dollars, right? And then when we look at volume and we look at that same thing, that trend, not only did all of produce, so if you look at the top numbers there, you know, the plus 5.9, then plus 2, as you go through, we actually see volume overall has declined, but the last time conventional this year is flat. And so that's kind of already started to change. You know, we watch these numbers, and that flat number on conventional tells me that volume is starting to come back overall for produce, but organic is still down. And so we see that kind of, I mean, heck, I don't even remember the first time that I looked at organic numbers, but it's always been on this massive trajectory, right? And for the last 4 years, we've kind of been stuck at that 12%, 7% of volume in organic. So again, you know, asking about that trend, you're both saying, hey, no, we're still focused on organic. We still want it. So how do we move that needle? Can we get it above 12% of dollars?
Well, I think we have to stay with it. And, you know, Scott said before about being consistent on it. So, you know, and making sure we have the product. For us on the East Coast, when the freight rates were crazy, it affected our pricing on it, and it did affect the sales on it.
Yeah.
Now that they're back, you know, within a little bit better reason, it helps us a little bit. So a little bit of a challenge when the FOBs are so high, along with the freight rates being higher than they ever were. It makes it difficult. So, but we're staying with it, and our customers want to stay with it. It's disappointing for the consumer when they go into a store and there are no organic items that they're used to getting, and then their kids might not be able to eat any berries for that week because they won't buy the conventional.
Right.
And so,
what do you think, What do you think about where Walmart's at with that?
Yeah, well, I think the growth in the organic industry has been phenomenal, honestly, right?
It has.
And it's not sustainable on an indefinite basis. So we're taking a little pause. Yields have come up dramatically. Quality's come up dramatically. We've improved a lot. We're in an environment where money matters more for a lot of our customers than it did before. I think we need to take that challenge seriously and look at our yields, look at our output, look at our returns. Where can we improve both at retail and in the growing side? How do we get to the next level? Because, again, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's just a pause to figure out how do we get better.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about assortment. right now? I mean, so we know inflation has been a big impact. It's all everybody's been talking about. Luckily that means that we don't talk about COVID anymore. Now we just talk about inflation. But it's definitely something that the consumer is very concerned about. Their dollar is being stretched thin. The wallet just doesn't feel as heavy as it used to be, and I think organic has been affected by that. So how are the retailers working that? Is there a strategy that you are working on, price-wise, to make sure that there's, I don't know if I want to say the word gap, but where should that be? I think Greg, you were just talking about how a lot of items are more expensive. We had all the freight issues, coming out of the COVID time frame, and prices just went crazy. And so there are quite a few consumers that are having a hard time justifying always purchasing organic, and so maybe they're switching a little bit to conventional. So do you guys have a strategy? And Scott, do you want to go? I'll
Sure.
throw this one to you first. What's Walmart's strategy on pricing?
Yeah, so I think this goes back to Sam Walton. I think in the maybe late 80s, early 90s, there was a recession taking place, and Sam Walton was asked by somebody what he thought about the recession, and he said something to the effect of, well, yeah, I've studied it out, and I've decided not to participate. I think we need to take a hard look at that. Like, why do prices have to go up? I understand every component of the business needs to have a healthy return, and I'm not against that by any stretch. But I think we have to take into consideration where our customer's at and really figure out how do we get better at what we're doing so we can deliver the healthy produce that we want our customers to take advantage of. And it's really about creating a mindset that says, okay, inflation, great. How do I minimize it? How do I mitigate it?
Right.
And that's kind of in Walmart's culture. So do we have a strategy? Yeah, it was established in 1962, I think. So.
Okay, fair enough.
We've done a couple of things with like our ads and stuff, because somebody promotes an item, they work a lot closer on it for a lead item in an ad, but you don't see that happen that much with organics. So we are trying that on some organic items, and it's helping a lot too. So we might work a little bit closer to stores. Retail might not make as much as they normally make on it, but they're able to move the product, and that's what's amazing to us is our shrink on organics is very low.
Wow.
I mean, so it's like...
in the past, that's actually been kind of a problem, hasn't it? That there's been more shrink on organic than on the conventional counterpart.
It was hard to buy, certain items to be able to get it here. And we don't have that issue anymore.
Well, that's kudos to the growers out
Growers,
there.
the stuff's holding up better, too, like Scott had mentioned before. So the quality has definitely improved.
Well, part of, on yours, so a lot of the chains that you work with, they're more specialty, right? They kind of focus on that, and you probably have some chains that are almost all organic focused or even vegan focused. Do you feel like, obviously, the customer is a little different than what's walking into a Walmart? You think that's helping with the inflation? Because, you said that organics is actually up for Bozzuto's and how much you're moving. Mm-hmm. So it's probably a little bit about that consumer. And so understanding the consumer at the retailer that you're working with, I'm talking to the grower shippers now, right? Knowing what that is and where those price points should be coming in at should probably be important.
It is, and but getting the product is more important, I think.
Okay.
Being able to have it in stock all the time. But there is a lot of customers, if the pricing is able to get in line and more customers can buy it, it's only going to help.
Yeah.
So, I think that, definitely the consistency and having the product is more important than the price. You can't go, 8 weeks without having any item, strawberries or something organic in the store. It's almost impossible. Who's going to come back for it? And somebody's going to maybe say, well, this isn't that bad. My kids like these. And, maybe they look up and they say, yeah, these are probably just as good for you. I don't know.
Interesting. Scott, you have a...
Yeah, I agree. I think just about anything is about habits, momentum. Like if you can have something consistently year-round, having it is better than having the optimal price or whatever it is. And you might think that's weird coming from the Walmart guy, but you can't sell what you don't have.
Yeah.
You need to have it on the shelf consistently year-round. It helps us operate our stores better. We don't have to pull stuff in and out. We don't have to change price points. Consistency matters a lot.
So basically what I'm hearing then is to move that needle off of that 7% in volume, 12%, we need more consistency, right, in the store. We need to make sure that organics are available year-round in every commodity, at least wherever possible.
And I'd say also focus on quality, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
we've come a long ways in terms of organic quality, and the perception of eating organic, whatever it is way better than it used to be. There's still some quality differences across some items. Color, flavor characteristics, everything has gotten way, way better.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about price. You said optimal pricing. So we'll keep it with you, Scott. Optimal pricing compared to conventional, where would you like that to be?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's you let the customer decide. We're gonna try and get a fair return for everybody. I think there can be a price spread in many of the categories. I think some it's become a commodity type item where organic is the same production cost as conventional, and why does there need to be a price point difference? Maybe it's just a marketing strategy. But I think the customer is one that needs to decide, and we'll try and price it according a little bit to cost, a little bit to comparative things. Also, it has to do maybe with adjacency to the conventional item, or maybe there's a destination in the store, and we talked a little bit about the variations in those type of models too. But I don't know that I can tell you there should be a 20% or 30% or a negative gap or whatever it is. I think every commodity is a little bit different. The growing dynamic, the economics of each commodity is a little bit different. So it varies, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard from plenty of retailers trying to push the organic price to be the same as the conventional counterpart. Are you saying you're good with that?
We are not actively trying to do that. We're trying
Okay.
to compare, to create a competitive mindset on whatever it is that we're selling within produce or across the store.
Yeah.
Most of our customers, they wouldn't expect to pay the same, I don't think. I think if it's close enough, they're going to buy it. If there's a huge gap, then they might most likely won't, even in our better stores with the organics.
Yeah.
On the organic part, I mean, seasonality, when I was growing up in the produce business, seasonality was a lot different than it is now, because you only had at certain times of year, you just couldn't get it. Now you can get everything all year round, so I think it affects, because there's conventional product more likely year round from other sources than there are on the conventional product.
Yeah.
So I think that affects the organics, as people might get used to it. You can't get certain items certain times of the year on the organic side. Yeah.
I think the thing, I'm going to jump on and take a left turn here a little bit, but you were talking about comparison.
Yeah.
What's that?
That was your right, but anyway.
I was pointing at you. But thank you. Yeah. No. So you talk about comparison, right, and how there has to be, and I truly believe that, one, there should be a gap. At least at this point, the consumer still expects organic to be more expensive than a conventional counterpart. And I think that should say, because there are benefits to that, and as long as the consumer understands that, I think they're willing to, up to a point. But when you start talking about comparison, and you said it too, some stores have a destination where all the organics are in the same place, and then other stores, it's right next to the conventional counterpart. Which way is better?
But it's hard to say. We're a full-service supplier, so we have merchandisers that go in the store, set up the stores. We do it both ways, so we have both of them. I mean, for me, I like it to be with the items.
Really?
Yeah. So what do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
Well, let's hear from Walmart first. They don't care what I think. They want to know from you guys.
Yeah, I know Tom's got a perspective, and the data will prove it out, but I think it really depends on the customer. I think it's a great experience to walk into a destination set where you've got organic all together. It creates a different ambiance. Kind of that's my preference. But I also know that adjacency is a powerful way to sell more produce in general. If you have an organic item right next to a conventional item, the consumer can compare it, price to price, like to like, and make a decision on what they want. So.
Yeah. No, you made a funny comment on one of our calls, actually, when you said, if I ask this retailer that has the display, or this one over here that does it adjacent, they're both right.
Yeah,
they both feel like they're right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's an exact right or wrong answer. Again, I think it goes back to your consumer, your profile, consumer profile, and where you go. But I do know that around 60% of organic people that will purchase organic will only do so if there's a comparison. They may or may not buy organic, depending on a couple of different variables, right? Price, quality, and availability. They have to have the consistency, right? But if it's over here and then they have to walk over here to look at the conventional, I don't think most people are going to do that. And so I think we miss kind of an opportunity to have that comparison and maybe upsell more. And so you need to go back to some of those guys.
I think the temperature requirements in the store help when they're together.
Yeah.
So, but also, some are in the theory that if you have organic apples next to conventional apples, then they might not be organic anymore.
So the consumer has this perception that there may be some crossover contamination.
Right.
Okay, I don't know anything about the chemistry there, so I can't speak to that. But I do know that somehow we have to make sure that there is a way for the consumer to have that comparison between organic and conventional. Any ways? No, I was going to ask also with that, like, would you have somebody inside of your organization? You used to be the organic buyer. Do you have somebody that focuses just on organic?
We have somebody that buys a lot of the organics, but doesn't focus only on organics. Okay. Most of our buyers, if you're the apple buyer, buying organic apples also. But there's so many other items that are more local to the East Coast. Most of our vegetable has come from out in California and stuff. But the local stuff, we have one buyer that buys all those.
Yeah. Do they help with the assortment and the settings in the stores at all, or are you pretty?
We have merchandise to help with the settings, yes, but they usually the buyers are out there doing something a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. On the Walmart side, mainly it's each buyer for themselves do conventional and organic at this point. Do you have any department that's focusing on organic that helps with those destinations?
Yeah, no. So our buyers also manage both conventional and organic at the same time. Yeah, it's all blended into the desk responsibility. I think what we do is make sure that when we think about organic, a few years ago we made it a project so that we could create a better focus on it. Store operations got involved in what we do, how we do it, and that's an important factor in how you look at organic in your store as well. You have to be able to operate in whatever manner you choose and make sure your operators know how to manage organic appropriately.
Yeah.
For us, filling trucks is important, so the buyer that's buying it knows what he can fit on a truck or what can go.
Yeah. Way more efficient than both. Yeah.
Yeah. On the operations side, do your stores, are they mostly destination, or are they for Walmart? Are they mostly destination?
For us, it's mostly destination. Yeah. And for us, that was an operational decision for us to be able to get behind it. Make sure that our customers knew that there was a place for it to be, and the way we operate, it was the optimal choice for us.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and we look at this a lot, and I think the actual answer to this is if you have the space, both. Because you do have those consumers that are looking strictly for organic, which makes the organic destination so nice for them, right? But then again, that fence sitter that may or may not buy organic, they need that comparison. So being able to have it in two different places would be great, but I don't know about too many Walmarts that have that space.
Yeah, exactly. That spacing, every square inch is accounted for, and every square inch is valuable and matters to the return of the business. So yeah, I'd love to be able to have the space to do what we wanted. We don't.
But on the other side, there are multiple displays in the stores of conventional items. You don't usually see that in the organic side.
That's true.
So you can see that a lot when you go into stores. So some of our guys do it in both places. So.
Yeah. How much does promotion play a part in your organic sales? We'll stick with you, Greg.
Yeah, for us, it's huge because when we put in an ad, we have all these stores that can pick from it, and if they use it, then they don't have to use our ad, but most of them do. Mm-hmm. So they would go along with the items that are in there. So it makes it's great for us. Movement-wise in the warehouse and things like that. So.
Does the consistency cause ads not to happen as often because it seems like it's a little harder to get that?
No, not really, because we have ads. We do ads every week with them, but just getting the items, getting the lids from the, so we know where to go out is important. So I think that's something that maybe the growers can work on and see if we can get, because our ads are, I don't know how far your ads are out, but ours are out there 3 weeks plus in advance. So if you don't have the pricing until later, it's hard to get the right price on there.
Yeah. So. Scott, anything to add?
For us, we don't really do ads. It's more around promotional display space, and really it's the EDLC, EDLP, everyday low cost, everyday low price. So we try and invest everything back into the price as much as we can.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's look at the gap. Well, first of all, here's the pricing, and this is a very big average. So this is across all of fresh produce. So you have the lighter blue there is conventional, and then the darker blue is organic. You kind of see where those prices are, and the fact that even on the conventional side, the last 2 years, the year ending 2022 up 13% in conventional pricing, and then organic. Again, had a bump, a fairly large bump. But you can see in this last 52-week period, ending in June of 2023, the gain in price pretty much the same, 5.6% in conventional and 5.5% in organic. And so we're seeing that, the year before, organic was only up 7% when conventional just, took that huge leap when inflation really came. And so that, that gap has kind of closed a little bit there. So if we look at the last 5 years of the gap, and so what this is basically the percent of from the conventional to the organic price. So back in 2019, again, that's way over there, but I believe it's just over 100% a gap between the conventional and the organic price. And every year we've kind of seen that gap close a little bit until this last 52 weeks when it's actually been the exact same, as they both grew at about the same rate in inflation. So again, we have seen that gap closed. As we go through it, why do you think it's closing now? Is it just because of higher availability, or is this a retail strategy that is trying to push it?
Yeah.
So first of all, this is a slide that we talked about. I don't like this at all, right? I think we're expecting our customer to pay double the price of a conventional item. I think that's just way too much. I think we can drive a lot more units if we can get our price gap to be even more narrow than what it is today. So I think that's a healthier trend. But if you're looking at a higher priced item, lower priced item, same percentage increase, we're not doing the customer's favor. It's still a bigger change. We're growing at a bigger rate still. It's not a healthy environment for the customer who wants to eat healthy. I think we got to work on that.
Yeah, I don't see that being. I know it's accurate and stuff, but if you're looking at clamshell salads, it doesn't seem like there's that much of a gap in there. Some of them, but I guess that's what the numbers come out to. It's got to be.
Well, so let's hit that. You talk about organic salads. That's been around a lot longer than a lot of other categories that are just literally, some of them still just breaking into organic right now. And I think salads kind of pioneered it to a lot of to a big extent, or like your baby carrots, and where that's at right now. And so it is category specific. I don't think this is a very broad slide. It's taking in a ton of averages across all categories, and so I think another point to kind of call out to the audience here is that. Every category needs to be looked at individually, and every item needs to be looked at individually, and the gap could be completely different based on that. Do you agree, disagree?
Oh yeah, there's not as much, say, organic stone fruit out there as there is conventional, so I would think the gap would be a little bit larger in something like that compared to salads or something. That would be, at least for us out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think every category is individual and independent, even though that's an average. But I think on average, you can't ignore the reality that there's a lot of work for us to do to drive better consumption.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we talk about inflation. We've been working, looking at the price and where that's at. So Category Partners actually just finished a fairly large study in conjunction with a couple of sponsors in order to look at inflation as a whole and where the consumer is at. And so I want to show a couple of stats from that study and then get, again, your thoughts on it. So the first one, we asked basically consumers, what is your level of concern? Where are you with inflation? Does it matter to you or does it not matter to you? And of course, pretty obvious, 95% of consumers are extremely or somewhat concerned with inflation. That's kind of important. The second one, which is clear over there, so I'm going to stand up so that I can actually read it. But then we said, hey, consumers, how long do you think this inflation is going to last? Are we going into a recession? Where do you think it's going to go? 37% think that it's going to last 1 year, with another 46% saying, we think it's going to be 2 years or more. And so we know that, if you're watching the CPI like I am, the price index and where that's going, we know that it is slowing. Inflation is slowing, but the consumer still is not feeling that. The perception out there is that inflation is still on the rise, and it's going to continue that way. And sometimes, even if we're like, hey, we see the numbers, so we're going to start doing this because inflation is subsiding and maybe the worry isn't there, the consumer isn't following, at least not yet. So we need to see how that tracks and that perception. And then finally, this is the interesting one that I really want to get your reaction on. As we asked them, they said, have you changed your buying habits at all? And one of those is organic. Are you buying more or less organic? And 27% of consumers said they're buying less organic produce, and 7% have stopped buying organic produce altogether. Which, again, we look at the numbers and we look at what the consumer says, and there's always that ambiguity between them. But at the same time, when we have those kind of numbers with the consumer, that means that there is concern with organic and the pricing with organic. So I'm going to stop right there and let you two react to that slide. Greg, you want to go first on that one?
For us, I'm kind of shocked at that because, we see it different, and being the customers that we have, maybe it is a little bit different. Our customers want to keep carrying that organic item. They want to have it. And I don't know of any of them that stopped carrying it, but we don't have control over what they do. We offer them stuff, and they can choose what they want. But as far as I know, no one's stopped using organics. So 7% of our customers haven't stopped, and in fact, some of them have gotten more, and some that didn't put them in their ads are putting them in their ads now. So that's an answer.
Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, so on the first point, yeah, sure, everybody's concerned about inflation. I think that matters, and I kind of made that point earlier. I think it's important for us to not lose focus of that. 27% decline in I think that's a leading indicator that we need to be aware of. Like, that doesn't mean sales are, I don't think sales have dropped 27% anywhere, well, maybe some places, but we haven't seen a 27% decline in organic produce sales. A little bit,
yeah.
But that's a leading indicator that is of concern. How do we turn that around? We need to be aware of it. We need to make sure that we're locked in on our strategy to make sure that we're doing everything we can to reverse that trend. So, yeah, I think it's a concerning number. It matters. But I don't think it's as dismal as maybe
what it sounds. Yeah, in the consumer. So, taking that last one over there, that they feel like inflation is going to continue on for at least another year, if not 2 years. What is your strategy for trying to continue to get people into that, organic categories? What should retailers be doing, and how can growers shippers be helping those retailers?
Well, on our side, organic, our pricing is more, that's out looking at the future. Our pricing is dropping. Even through the grocery industry and stuff, with all our grocery, that inflation, because you can see the pricing out in front, it's not there anymore and stuff on our side and everything we're getting. So
wait, so what's not there anymore?
The inflation.
The inflation.
Yeah.
You don't feel like it's really been going up?
Not right now.
Okay.
So it's not. So in what we see, and anybody that does have any items, so I think that its pricing is getting back in line.
Well, part of that has to be the fact that a lot of what we do, because it's commodity driven, inflation inputs for the growers have definitely gone up. And so there has to have been some sort of price increase, but FOBs are still pretty by demand. Supply and demand it plays a huge part, right? Sure. And so maybe that's part of why we're seeing it, even though overall, and again, this was, especially that 95%, that was overall. How do you feel about inflation, right? And so maybe it's a little different, but are your retailers trying to push the price up a little bit? Maybe a little inflation going in there?
Well, I think in the past during COVID, I think that happened in a lot of places. People were paying whatever for products. They didn't care. Now they care. They can't, besides not being able to afford it like they could at that time. So I don't see it happening. It's not so much the stores, I think it was more maybe on the manufacturing side, where they were able to get what they could.
Okay. So you're blaming the greedflation on the grower shippers, not on the...
No, not on the produce side, because if you don't have it right, you're not going to sell it.
Yep.
But on the grocery side, if the demand was so high for some, I mean, what would anybody, even in the produce industry, if you had the product and the demand was so high, why would you give it away, but not to go to that point?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There was an opportunity, they took the opportunity. Yeah. What do you think? Is there a strategy going forward? I mean, obviously Walmart, I would think that your foot traffic is up because, during this inflationary period, you always seem to do actually fairly well with people coming back because they know of your everyday low price strategy. Do you have kind of those measures in place, any strategy for the future on that?
Yeah, first of all, I think that 95% people concerned about the economy is a strong indicator of the overall sentiment of the environment that we live in, right? So it matters, but I think, to Greg's point, I think things are starting to stabilize, and maybe they've plateaued, and maybe they're even coming down. I think in this room we have a lot of things that we can control, and we need to focus on what we can control. There's some things that are out of our control, weather, Mother Nature, some of the conflicts going around the world that maybe impact our business, but where we have an influence, we got to work together to make sure that we create stability, so that mindset doesn't turn so negative that it spins out of control eventually. And I think we can control that a lot. I don't think we've got a business model that needs adapting or changing or adjusting. We just got to double down and do what we do best. And from the people in this room, from ag-based, I know we don't represent the total part of the economy that may be driving a lot of inflation, but we're a strong component of it. But we, in general, have a pretty good sense of what's coming. And if grower costs are continuing to go up, which I don't think they are, and input costs continue to go up.
You're thinking that grower costs are not continuing to go up?
Not at the same rate that they were, and they're, on average, I think things have stabilized.
Okay.
I think there's still a lot of challenges out there, but at the rate that they were going up, it has certainly decelerated, if even maybe come down to some extent. So
okay.
I think we got to work responsibly to make sure that we take care of all of the sort of interested parties, our labor force, our ownership, our customers, but focus on, at the end of the day, on delivering a great product at an affordable price, and we're going to be okay.
Okay.
That was a good point, Scott. Really.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. So let's talk packaging just a little bit. I know, especially with Walmart, there is been a push to go more. A lot of produce is still sold as bulk. But have you seen the packaging change, like its pack sizes being decreased at all, to try and fight that inflation? And how could that help or hinder what you guys are both trying to do? Greg, you want to go?
Yeah, on our side, we don't, for us, we have to get into a little larger pack on some stuff because ours were a lot smaller. I don't.
So your packaging actually went up?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
So we did. The whole packaging sometimes there's, I think, a little too outrageous. I mean, something's organic and it's in a big, heavy clamshell and stuff, or whatever it may be. And so I think that's kind of strange. I think we should work on some stuff like that maybe we can get that back into line. But for us, the size of the package, we actually increased some of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think from us, I don't know that I've been in a time where the rate of change in the exploration of new packaging types has been more prevalent than I've seen in the last couple of years. Like, there's a lot of changes coming in the packaging side of things. In general, we want to be more sustainable. Pack sizes up and down. I mean, there's a price point that you're trying to get at to make sure it's an affordable item, whatever it is. If you're selling two items at a $12 price point, maybe we got to rethink how we do that. Maybe it doesn't need. Maybe, I don't know, but there's a lot of components that go into that. We want to be sustainable. We want to be environmentally friendly. We got to hit a price point. It's got to be a consistent message, and organic produce needs to be looked at really from a different mindset than maybe conventional produce.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I hear that, and hopefully everybody else heard that, about the packaging, and not just the fact that maybe we need to right size it, but we need to right package it, and see if there are innovative ways that we can get out there to continue to help that consumer be aware. So that's really interesting. So We have 12% dollars, total organics, 7%. Final words, what would you tell, what is your message to the grower shippers out here on how they can move that needle within your organizations?
Well, for us, to have the product, be more consistent with it, and to, as we've said, and if there's a way to get information a little bit, forecasting a little bit sooner than we're getting it now on the organic side, I think it would help us a lot. Other than that, I mean, we just keep pushing.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, it's focus on the customer.
Don't say on time and in full.
That too. Thanks for preaching that for me. But seriously, consistency, focus on the customer. There's a lot of positive days ahead, I think, for organic, but there's a lot of hard work to do too. We've come a long ways. You know, the people in this room, if you were growing organic 25 years ago, it's much different now. The yields are way better. The quality is way better. Keep doing what we're doing, but think of new ways at the same time. We got to continue to innovate on the growing side to get that consumption up. We got to focus on the customer and then work back from there.
So what I'm hearing, if I can repeat it back again, one, make sure our gap is right. It doesn't have to be the same necessarily, right? But make sure it's right. And that has to go down to almost the item level. Two, package it right and be innovative in that packaging. And three, consistency, right? Let's see how, if we can keep those products in long term as far as we can within the year, that's where you want it to be. And that's how we grow organics.
Simple.
Yeah.
Simple.
Easy. Why are we not already doing that?
Yeah.
I said simple, not easy.
Yeah.
Two different things.
Yeah. Thank you very much both for being here, and thank you all for attending.